Dinborin ruthlessly suppressed domestic opposition, maintained peace with neighboring countries, and quickly stabilized the new nation. However, his seemingly unshakable kingdom began to crumble from internal fractures. In the late reign of Dinborin, strange things started happening one after another in the Hoa Lu Palace. His eldest son, Din Lian, was a skilled general who played a key role in the Unification War. Afterward, he gained experience in leadership by handling diplomacy with the Song dynasty. But Dinborin suddenly declared his youngest son, Din Harnlarng, as crown prince. A few months later, assassins broke into the palace and killed Crown Prince. Historical records later claimed that it was Din Lian, the eldest son, who ordered the assassination. Strangely, though, Din Lian was neither punished for this nor did he seize his father's power. One night, a high-ranking eunuch, Do Tik, had a peculiar dream. In his dream, a giant star entered his mouth. Do Tik woke up and thought to himself, "This must be a dream about me becoming the king." A few days later, when King Dinborin fell asleep drunk, Do Tik approached him and assassinated him. It doesn't make sense. How could a eunuch's dream be the reason to kill the king? People back then thought the same thing. But the real killer never showed up, and Vietnam's history books still say that Do Tik killed the king. When King Dinborin was assassinated, a minister named Ung Yu Yen Bark rushed to the palace with his soldiers and took control. Do Tik fled to the women's quarters, but was discovered 3 days later and executed. This coup resulted in the deaths of Dinborin and all his sons except for Din Tuan, who was just 6 years old. The court unanimously declared Din Tuan the new king. Din Tuan's mother, Duong Ban Ung A, was one of the king's 5 queens. She then chose La Hoan, who is now the chief of staff, to be the regent. It is said that they had a secret relationship. Other important officials, like Ung Yu Yen Bark, who was second in command of the Ding Dynasty, were worried about La Hoan's growing power. La Hoan had a humble origin. He lost both parents at a young age and was nearly left to wander the streets. Fortunately, a provincial official and his wife adopted him and raised him like their own son. Recognizing his intelligence, they provided him with the best education and training in martial arts. When La Hoan grew up, Vietnam was in the midst of a civil war between 12 warlords. Leaving his adoptive parents, he joined the forces of Din Lian, Dinborin's eldest son. Through his remarkable courage and intellect, he achieved numerous victories, even losing an eye in battle. Impressed, Dinborin appointed La Hoan as commander of 1,000 soldiers. Li Hoan worked hard and rose through the ranks. Despite his accomplishments, Li Hoan's status remained lower than founding heroes like Ung Yu Yen Bark, as he joined much later and under Din Lian. But everything changed when Duong Ban Ung A named him regent. As regent, La Hoan began referring to himself as the second king and filled key government positions with his allies. The founding officials could not tolerate this. Led by Ung Yu Yen Bark, they launched a rebellion. Although Ung Yu Yen Bark was a war hero, La Hoan had control over most of the government forces. The rebellion was crushed due to their numerical disadvantage. The rebels were desperate, so they fled south to the rival kingdom of Kampa, seeking support. Hoping to expand his influence over the newly formed Vietnam, the king of Kampa accepted their request. The Allied forces sailed up the Hong Long River, intending to attack the capital, Hoa Lu. However, Li Hoan's forces ambushed them with fire attacks from the riverbanks, annihilating the invaders. With this, the civil war ended. The controversial queen, Duong Ban Ung A, is said to have been the daughter of a low-ranking officer from southern Vietnam. Unlike other queens who came from noble families, she was not born into wealth. However, her beauty, which matched her name Beautiful Cloud, and her wisdom helped her rise to the position of queen. Her life was extraordinary. Her first husband and son were emperors. Her second husband became emperor, and her son-in-law later founded a new dynasty as emperor. This led Confucian scholars in Vietnam to condemn her as the worst villainess for over 1,000 years due to her remarriage, especially to a former subordinate. However, today, many Vietnamese see her as a wise woman. she ensured the peaceful transition of 3 dynasties with minimal bloodshed. Above all, her second husband, whom she made emperor, successfully defended Vietnam from Chinese invasions.